Persona 5 The Phantom X is a quite sought after game by the ATLUS community, but a lot of people don't really know a lot about the game, and so in this video I'll be discussing a lot of the things that the ATLUS community may be wondering. So for those who haven't even seen the game, this will kind of give you guys a general rundown of everything and how the game works. Let's just say like the Persona system, how the combat works, what the story is like, and stuff like that. This video will be split into timestamps so you guys are able to scroll through and see things individually. So the first question that I want to address is, how does the character system in this game work? So a lot of people may think that you're going to be pulling for the personas and you just get the character, and that's a little wrong. So to explain how the game works, pretty much you're going to be pulling for the characters and they come with their personas, with the exception of Wonder, who is the main character of this game. So let's take Haru for example. Haru is a character that you're able to get through the limited banner, and once you pull Haru, you will get her persona, and also what comes with her kit is 3 skills, 1 highlight, which is basically a theurgy or an ultimate from Persona 5 Royal or Persona 3 Reload, and they come with 2 passives. Now for those who haven't played a gacha game, of course you can pull multiple copies of one character and get things called dupes, which will make the character much stronger. Another thing that a lot of gacha games tend to feature is a weapon, a lot of artifact system, or a gear system. So weapons are able to be pulled for. You can get character's limited weapon from a banner, or you can use a 4-star option. For the gear system in this game, they utilize cards and revelation system, and to make it very brief, how this works is basically you'll go into a domain and farm a bunch of them, and pretty much you're gambling for stats. That's kind of what it is. Now of course this is going to be grindy, this is going to be long, tedious, and process for those who have not played gacha games, but this game is fairly generous when it comes to overall being a gacha game. So for those who are wanting to get into the game while trying not to get into the gacha slop, I think this game is perfectly fine. It balances out pretty well. Another question that a lot of people may have is the Phantom Thieves in this game? And obviously yes, the base Phantom Thieves from Persona 5 Royal are in the game, so this will include Akechi, this will include Sumire, and characters like that. Now let's discuss more about the characters themselves. So for those who are wondering, hey, are we going to get Persona 3 Reload, Persona 4 Golden, or any other characters games in this game that isn't Persona 5 or OCs? And the answer to that is yes, it has been confirmed that we are getting a Persona 3 Reload integration into P5X, so you're going to be seeing characters like Makoto Yuki, Yukari, stuff like that. Now let's talk about the oddball in the room, is the OCs. Now for those who are wondering what the OCs are like in this game, I honestly love their writing and the way they get implemented in the game, and this game does take place on a separate timeline, so it doesn't mess with the Persona 5 franchise or just a Persona series in general. This is its own timeline with its own characters, and not all of these characters are Phantom Thieves, to believe it or not. All of these characters are just basically mementos, cognitions. If for those who've played Persona 5, I think you would understand what I'm talking about. The next question that a lot of people ask is, how does the time in the event system work? So in this game you have time slots just like any other Persona game, but it goes by tomorrow, yesterday, and today. So the way it works, I thought you used to go by the real calendar of the world. So let's just say for on the day that I'm recording this, it is April 17th. When April 17th happens in game, then you get to do your events. That's how I thought it would originally work, but no, it runs on its own timeline in its own day system, so you can kind of just pass infinite days if you want to. But to explain what your days are usually used for, so let's just say for example I hit my circle button, which is the city button, so this will be able to do your activities and events. So this will include confidants, this will include working jobs, and doing stuff to raise your social stats. Now if you see on my screen the hourglass with the number 6 on it, that is the amount of stamina points that you have. So if I go ahead and kind of just pass time real quick, so here's a good example of it. So you see how the time would just pass basically, and now when I go here, you're able to do a set of events. So depending on the event, you can get different things. You can get gems, you can get XP, you can get gifts, you can even see confidants on here. There's no confidant showing up on my part right now because obviously I just started this account for TW, but you are able to do confidants. And now the system that I want to talk about the most, and a lot of people will be wondering about, is the confidant system. So confidants are kind of similar to how P5 works, where you kind of just hang out with the character and you are able to unlock the confidants. In this game, instead of having 5 ranks, you will have 15, I believe so. So let me check one second. Yes, there is 15 total ranks. Well, there's 20 total ranks, but this is basically the end of the rewards, and you have 20 total ranks, and this does include the romance option for each of the female characters as well. So you're able to romance characters usually, and the way that you go through that is just you choose the right dialogue option, similar to how the Persona 5 system works. You can also break up with them in this game, which is pretty interesting, but confidants are in this game. A lot of it is just the OCs. So far in the game, we have not gotten an actual confidant with the base Persona 5 characters, so there's no Joker confidant and stuff like that. So for those who are looking for that, I think there's a whole separate thing for you guys. But for those who are wondering about the confidants, that's basically how the system works. You can give them gifts, you can hang out with them, and some confidants actually unlock certain abilities, so being able to craft faster, stuff like that. Now, of course, this wouldn't be a gacha P5X video if I weren't going to talk about the pity and the pull system. Now, for those who are coming into the game who have not played a gacha game at all, I will simplify this easy for you guys. So pretty much you're going to be pulling the characters in this game using limited, currency, pulls, stuff like that you get throughout playing the game. Now, this is by far the biggest turnoff for people in this game. I can understand why. Gacha games are pretty predatory in what they do, and it is pretty unforgiving at times, but I am here to tell you that Persona 5 The Phantom X is so good at making free-to-plays feel. They listen to the free-to-plays. I promise you that this game is really generous. They give you a bunch of pulls, they give you a bunch of free stuff, and so you're able to get most of the characters that you are wanting to pull for. So there is a guaranteed banner here. So right here, usually most gacha games, you would do the 50-50 banner and you would risk losing and not getting the character that you want. But in this game, there is a guaranteed banner, which is a little bit higher pity. Instead of going to, I think it's 80 pity max, it'll be 90, or well, not 90, the 110 pity right here, and you can guarantee get the character. So for those who are wondering, I don't want to deal with all the gacha slop and risking 50-50s, this banner is made specifically for you, and you are able to get the character that you want, whether it's a limited character or whatever character that's running on here, you can get the character. Sorry for the huge mouthful of words, but pretty much what I'm trying to say is this game is really generous, and I wouldn't turn away from the game because I don't want to lose or get into gacha slop. The game is very generous, and I promise you guys it's not as bad as it seems. Now, the next thing that I want to discuss is the Persona system, and man, this one is going to be quite interesting. So for those who've played Persona 5 Royal, then the Persona system is very similar to that game. You have a compendium where you can summon all your personas. You can get a lot of your personas from farming and fusing, so it's kind of the similar thing as Persona 5, but you are able to do a little bit more with it. So let's just take Wander's persona, Janosig, for example. This is going to be a very interesting explanation, but the game has quite RNG when it comes to trying to get certain skills. Now, to explain what I mean, every single persona has their base skills. So let's just take, for example, Janosig. These three top skills right here are the base skills, and you are able to have 3 skills total. That's how the gameplay works in this game, and then the rest of them will be passives or other stuff. So let's just say, for example, my skills here will be Tarukaja, Desire Shell for Life, and Tiger Shot, which these are my 3 skills, and the rest of these are, this is my highlight skill, and this will be passives. So let's just say, for example, once these slots open, I'm able to get Life Fade 2 or Life Fade 1 and Bullet Time 2. You are just able to put skills on here, and let's just say you want to get a certain skill. So let's just say I want to get, let's just say like Tarukaja, for example. I will go through here, filter for what I want, which is one of the buffs, and then you see we get Tarukaja, Sukukaja, Concentrate, pretty much all the buffs in the game. You are able to basically get them. So let's just say Sukukaja, for example, right? And in order to get Sukukaja on Janosig, I need to get these Oberos marks. And basically, this is an RNG fest right here. So if you see right here, there is Spellmaster, Resistance Wind, and Sukukaja, and this is from the Oberus mark. And so in order to get Sukukaja, for example, I have a 1 in 3 chance. So let's just do it right here. Boom, I actually got it first try. So now I'm able to select Sukukaja and add it to the skill list of my persona. And this is how you are able to obtain skills in this game. Hopefully I didn't overcomplicate that for you, but basically in order to gain new skills, you're basically kind of doing a 1 in 3 chance. And don't worry about how you get these. A lot of these you are able to fuse, or a lot of these that you're able to farm, and so the end game personas are kind of similar. You're just going to kind of RNG get your skills. Some personas come with better skills than others, so there's no really passing down skills in this game. That's not really how it works, unfortunately, but it is more of an RNG farmable thing to get your persona, so it isn't too bad. I do honestly prefer the Persona 5 Royal system, or just how ATLUS does it with their mainline games, but for a gacha game, I think it's a-okay. I I think there could be some improvements to the persona system, because I'm going to keep it real with you, it is really annoying to deal with. The RNG is a little bit annoying, the farming can get annoying, but it is not as bad. Now, as for the compendium itself, you are able to get these points from it, and you're able to register a bunch of personas to your compendium. And obviously there's a bunch of personas being added to the game, so as you collect more personas, as you see, you have my goat Jack Frost over here, and you're just able to collect a bunch of personas and you get to use them in battle. And so that's pretty much the base explanation of the persona system. And for those who are wondering what I was talking about by you're able to farm personas, if I come over here to kind of pretty much the farming section, or the main farming section, if I can get out the tutorial spot, pretty much like this is where you're going to be farming your personas. You're able to get the marks and able to transfer skills, do stuff like that. So that's what I mean by the farmable persona system. It is pretty much all farmable and RNG. It is a little annoying, don't get me wrong. You could buy them with the persona coins as well, like for example how I got Yoshitsune, but this is a whole system in itself, and this is supposed to be a simple video, so I'm not going to explain it here. For those who are wondering how the persona system works, there you go. To make the video not as long as I want it to be, let's talk about the game story. So the game has so far 4 palaces as of patch 4.0, and each of the palaces are, just palaces. They're like regular Persona 5 palaces. And to explain how the story works in this game, is basically the same thing as Persona 5. You're exploring palaces, doing exploration, collecting chests, getting pulls, stuff like that. Now, for those who are wondering how the story works, there are 2 different storylines. There is the P5X storyline, which is basically the P5X characters doing P5X things, going through palaces, stuff like that. Now, the next story that they have is the Crossfade story. Now, the Crossfade story in itself is pretty interesting if I can actually find where it is. I actually have no idea where it is on the menu here, but the Crossfade storyline is basically a what if version of Persona 5 Royal or any of the extra games. So let's just say, for example, P5X characters are going to be in P5R, and let's just say, for example, what if Akumura did not die, then what would happen? And so basically it is a what if story. Same thing when the Persona 3 Reload collabs comes into play. There'll be Tartarus and it'll maybe be what ifs. So the game has the potential to be Persona Q, and that's a basic explanation of what Crossfade is. So you have the P5X storyline, you have the Crossfade storyline. Each of them have their own palaces and their own story, so both regular enjoyers and the newer comers to the Persona franchise can enjoy the game without having to play the mainline games. Of course, you would still want to play the mainline games for the what if, for the Crossfade story, but for those who are wanting to just play Persona for the first time and their first experience is P5X, then they can experience whatever storyline that they want. Anyways, that's about everything that I can talk about that is pretty simple and straight to the point. I will make a more in-depth and longer video about the more nitty-gritty stuff, so maybe the My Palace, the gameplay itself, the events, there's a lot to this game. I'm going to be completely honest, and the overworld is pretty big in this game, so I will probably go into a separate video, but this video is long enough. So if you guys are content like this, and drop a sub on the channel, it'll help me out quite a lot. If you guys are interested in discussing more P5X or just any sort of turn-based JRPG game, then feel free to join the Discord server, discord.gg/expresstrain. Thank you guys so much for watching if you made it to the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.